Introducing Chords from WA Production. This is the solution when you need some inspiration to kickstart your next track. This MIDI effect plugin for Mac and PC will conjure chords of all shapes and sizes with just a couple of clicks. Try out new ideas for your tracks in just seconds. The innovative software will generate looped options for up to 8 chords, with full control over chord shape, inversions, velocities and more. Then just drag the MIDI straight from the plugin to your projects and edit it in the normal way. In this video I'll be showing the workflow of chords, including how to adjust the global controls and also the per chord segment parameters. This is a really visual plugin where everything is laid out intuitively, so it shouldn't take you long to get to grips with it. So let's dive in. Firstly, Chords is built on vector graphics, so has a resizable interface. Just drag the corner here to drag to your preferred size. I've placed Chords as a MIDI plugin ahead of a simple electric piano VST, so you can hear clearly what's going on. Obviously in your own projects you can get Chords to output MIDI to any kind of sound you like, from synths to guitars. Let's have a quick listen to some of the included presets, accessible just here. Watch as the chords play back just like a clock face, from 12 o'clock around the circle. Essentially the interface has 2 windows. This is the global loop control view with editing controls for the entire loop. Then you can click into these black circles to access each individual chord shape. More on that in a sec. Taking this preset as an example, there are some basic length, speed and key controls on the interface. These apply to the whole loop. Let's speed up to a quarter bar. And then it's easy to change the root key. The length control defines the length of the loop. This inversion control is really fun. Use it to push up the lowest notes in an octave or push down the highest notes. Have a listen. The other controls you need to know on this interface are the plus and minus buttons for adding and subtracting chord segments. Just click between the chords here. You can have as few as 1 chord segment or as many as 8. So on to the chords themselves, and this is where things start to get really interesting. Clicking these black dots will open a single chord for editing and also preview the chord. You'll see some similar controls, most notably the inversion dial. Don't forget that in this case the change applies to just a single chord. The overall velocity of the chord can be adjusted here. The foundation of major and minor harmony is major and minor scales. Chords are derived from those scales, and you can choose which type of chord plays just here. Major sounds brighter and happier. Minor sounds more melancholy and darker. These dots in the centre represent different complexity and tonal function of chord shapes. There's a whole encyclopedia of chord theory that I could go into here, but you don't really need to worry about that. All you really need to know is that the dots towards the bottom are simpler chords, and as you rise up, you'll get chords of more complexity that sound a bit jazzier. You can actually see the chord symbol of the playing chord just here. The three lines of dots are S for subdominant, T for tonic, and D for dominant. Experiment for yourself and see what sounds good. So far you've mostly heard chords of 3 or 4 notes, but you can limit the number of notes played on each chord, or even turn off a chord completely. Each of these coloured bars represents a note. The innermost bar indicates the lowest note, and the outer bar indicates the highest note, with everything else in between. Clicking on a note line mutes or unmutes the corresponding note. Don't forget that you can save your creations by clicking just here. I'll choose a new preset, and you might recognise this progression from a certain Hans Zimmer score. When you want to get the chords out of the plugin and into your DAW, just drag from the bottom of the interface straight into a MIDI track, in this case one with a big church organ sound. Then you can edit the MIDI in the normal way. How about duplicating in octaves and transposing? Or switching to a synth and chopping the MIDI up. The possibilities really are endless when you start to manipulate the MIDI and get creative with the output from chords. So that's Chords in a nutshell, a really simple to use chord creation utility for conjuring up inspiring MIDI chord progressions. Use it to jumpstart your projects or just to help you out of a creative rut. For more information, check out the WA Production site or head to Plugin Boutique.